A terrible quiet fell on the thousands who were gathered at St. Peter's Square at the Vatican today, a shocked quiet. 10,000 or more had come to receive the blessing of Pope John Paul. Instead, amongst the cheering and the peal of bells announcing the arrival of the Pope, they heard gunfire and saw the Pope turn pale and collapse, bloody, into the arms of his aides. Pope John Paul II had been shot. A Turkish terrorist who had threatened to kill the Pope 2 years ago is being held tonight by Italian police, the main suspect in the shooting. His Holiness was immediately thought to be in grave condition as he was brought into the operating room. Then, for over 4 hours, surgeons worked. His most serious wound, a shot through his abdomen. Doctors removed 2 parts of the Pope's intestines. The doctors called the operation, quote, successful. Tonight, they say, the Pope's condition, however, is guarded because, after all, there is still the possibility of infection. This act of violence directed against a man of peace stunned the world. Good evening again. I'm Dan Rather, CBS News, reporting from Los Angeles. This is the CBS News Special Report. And with me tonight in our New York newsroom are Harry Reasoner and Bob Schieffer.
Dan, it is already the early hours of Thursday morning in Rome. The Vatican, like the rest of the world, is trying to adjust to the shock of this attack on the life of Pope John Paul II. Doug Tennell is standing by now to tell us more about the mood of Rome at this hour. And Doug, it must be a somber scene indeed there where you are.
Certainly is. There is very much the atmosphere of shock, even in these early hours. Small groups of people are still walking through St. Peter's Square, looking for the exact place where what happened today happened, talking with the people there, exchanging the latest word on the condition of the Pope, and of course, some of them on bended knee praying before portraits of the Pope and hoping for his speedy recovery.
Doug, I know you've just been to the emergency room at the hospital where the Pope was taken. What can you tell us about the situation there?
Very recently spoke with one of the doctors in the hospital who told us that his condition at this moment is satisfactory. The Pope was conscious after the operation, which in fact was more than 4 hours and quite extensive. He was breathing unaided after the operation, and the doctor has said that his operation was successful. However, they are now quite concerned about the possibility of infection. The Pope, in addition, had some of the fingers on one hand broken, hit by a stray bullet, and has been wounded in at least 6 places.
Doug, this will certainly revive questions about the whole idea of papal security. What can you tell us about that tonight?
While the Pope travels in Italy, he has been using only the barest of security. In fact, the Vatican security procedures have been just bare minimum. He has less than 50 plainclothes detectives with him in Italy most of the time when he travels. He's been making a number of public appearances. Most of those plainclothes agents are former Italian police, retired, and really involved more in crowd control than anything else. So what happened today was something that people had speculated on. It was something that seemed imminently possible, and yet he's the man, kind of man who wanted to be so close to people, to show his trust in people, his affection for his flock, that he would not take more stringent security precautions and put a body of bodyguards between himself and the faithful who'd come out to see him.
Doug Tennell reporting from Rome. Doug, thank you. Harry?
The shooting occurred at 5:19 Rome time. Up until then, it had been one of those gloriously bright Roman afternoons. The Pope appeared in his usual sunny mood as his white Jeep made its way slowly through St. Peter's Square. 15,000 people had gathered for the Pope's weekly audience with the general public. As he so often does, he was traveling out in the open. As he so often does, he stopped to kiss a child. The pictures from Italian television for some reason go into slow motion here. An eerie prefiguring here on what looks like a joyful day full of balloons. Suddenly, the Pope's Jeep was hurtling out of the crowd, the guards running ahead and at its side. People in the crowd said they could see the Pope as he slumped into the arms of an aide. They said they could see blood on the front of his white silk robe. A still photographer got a picture of the Pope as he gripped his hand, where apparently one of the bullets hit. We have an eyewitness description of what happened next from Nicholas Raluk of New York.
There was people of many, many different nationalities all around me who couldn't understand each other, but we understood one word, that the Pope was hurt. As soon as the Pope realized that the Pope had been shot, people then broke out into crying, and they were dropping to their knees praying.
This is one of the two women who were also injured by the gunman's shots. One was Anne Audrey, a widow from Buffalo, New York. The other bystander, apparently hit by stray bullets, was a 21-year-old woman, Rose Hill, from Jamaica. A priest got on the Vatican's loudspeaker to ask the crowd to pray for the Pope, the Lord's Prayer, and the Ave Maria. One aide said that on the way to the hospital, the Pope prayed quietly in Polish. The police went to work immediately. On the piazza, they found and marked the spot where a bullet casing had landed. Immediately after the shots were fired, people in the crowd apparently tackled a young man whom police quickly hustled off into custody. He's been identified as Mehmet Ali Hakka, a convicted assassin who had escaped from a prison in Turkey. The Turkish press reported that he had left a note behind in his prison cell threatening to kill the Pope. Today, he reportedly kept repeating, "I couldn't care less about life." We'll have a full report on him later.
From the beginning, the Pope has impressed anyone who's seen him with his robustness, his vigor. This, after all, is the skiing Pope. Yet he's also a man with a demanding schedule who's going to be 61 years old on Monday. Health and science correspondent Charles Crawford spoke about the medical aspects of the Pope's injury with an expert on gunshot wounds, Dr. Stephen Lynn, a surgeon at St. Luke's Roosevelt Hospital here in New York.
Anytime we have an injury to the intestine or even an elective